Ivan Ivanovich was a man whose mind was slowly unraveling. He was a failed writer, a heavy drinker, and a man whose face had turned yellow from spite and bile. People avoided him. They said he was mad. Perhaps he was. One cold, wet day in St. Petersburg, when the snow was turning to slush and the air smelled of wet wool and sorrow, Ivan attended a funeral. It was for a distant relative, a man he didn't particularly like. He watched the faces of the mourners, their fake tears, their calculations about the cost of the coffin, their hunger for the funeral dinner. It disgusted him. When the ceremony ended and the living hurried away to eat and drink, Ivan remained. He sat down on a tombstone, staring at the grey sky, and fell into a strange, heavy trance. He did not know how long he sat there. But slowly, the silence of the graveyard began to break. It didn't break with the howling of wind or the screech of birds. It broke with chatter. Muffled chatter coming from the ground beneath his boots. The dead were talking, but they were not whispering ancient secrets of the universe. They were not facing the judgment of God. No, they were gossiping. "Your Excellency, please move over. You are crowding me," said a voice. "I am a general," barked another. "I demand respect even here." Ivan Ivanovich listened in horror. It was a card game. It was a tea salon. It was a petty office meeting. Down there in the cold earth, a general was still bullying his subordinates. A shopkeeper's wife was still giggling and flirting with a young aristocrat. A thief was still bragging about the money he stole. They argued about why they were still conscious. A philosopher among them, who smelled quite bad by his own admission, explained it. He called it inertia. Death is not instant, the philosopher claimed. The body dies, but the consciousness lingers, like a wheel that keeps spinning after the engine is cut. We have 2, maybe 3 months of this twilight, a grace period given by nature to repent, to look back on our lives. But were they repenting? Were they praying? No. They were terrified of only one thing: the moment when the consciousness would finally fade, when the last bubble of life would pop with a meaningless sound. Bobok. Then a new voice cut through the chatter. It was Baron Klinovich, a scoundrel in life and a scoundrel in death. He had a proposal for his rotting neighbors. "Ladies and gentlemen," the Baron declared, "why do we lie to each other? Up there in the world of the living, we wore masks. We pretended to be noble, honest, and polite because society forced us. But here in the dark, the walls are thick. No one can see us." A murmur of excitement ran through the graves. "Let us cast aside all shame," the Baron shouted. "Let us strip our souls naked. Let us confess our darkest, filthiest, most depraved secrets. Let us tell the truth about who we really are. Let us spend our final months in absolute, unbridled depravity." The graveyard erupted in joy. The general, the lady, the thief, they all cheered. "Yes, no more shame. Let us be naked." Ivan Ivanovich sat on the tombstone, his blood running cold. He had expected the majesty of death. Instead, he found a brothel of souls. He realized that the smell in the air was not just the smell of rotting bodies. It was the smell of rotting morals. Even in the grave, these people could not find dignity. They wanted to soil eternity with their pettiness. The voices grew louder, eager to share their filth, eager to wallow in it. Ivan could take it no longer. The disgust rose in his throat like bile. He opened his mouth and let out a tremendous, accidental sneeze. "Achoo!" Instant silence. The chatter stopped. The flirting stopped. The general stopped shouting. The dead fell silent, not because they were ashamed of their evil, but because they realized a living man was listening. They were like cockroaches when the light is turned on. Ivan jumped up from the tombstone and ran. He ran out of the graveyard, past the gates, into the grey streets of St. Petersburg. He never went back, but the horror stayed with him. He had seen the truth. Death does not change a man. If you live as a pig, you die as a pig, and you rot as a pig. Depravity, Ivan muttered to his diary. Depravity everywhere, even in the last moments of consciousness. Nothing but Bobok.